All right, so we're diving deep today, and this time it's into Indonesian local elections.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, we got a request to go through the official KPU regulation, that's number 17 of 2024, and really break down how the voting and counting works at that local level.
So the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of how democracy happens in Indonesia, at least on the ground.
Exactly, and it's more interesting than you might think. You know, we often focus on national elections, but these local ones, they're the foundation.
Absolutely. Plus, this regulation, it's like a blueprint, not just for Indonesia, but anyone who wants to understand how to design an election to be, well, fair and accurate.
So much goes into that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with getting ready, right, before anyone even casts a ballot.
Okay, prep time.
Right, and the KPU regulation, it gives a lot of responsibility to the KPPS.
No, just to remind folks, that's the polling station working group. Basically, the team at each TPS, the polling station.
Yeah, and they handle a ton. Announcing voter lists, putting out the candidate info, making sure everyone gets their voter notification letter at least 3 days before D-Day.
Speaking of the TPS, it's not just any old place, right? Has to be accessible, so open or closed space, but definitely not a place of worship. Got to keep those separate.
That makes sense. Avoid any perception of bias.
Exactly, and there's a size requirement too, 10 by 8 meters minimum, but they can adjust based on local conditions.
Like if you're in a more rural area, maybe things need to be a bit different.
Precisely. And here's a little detail I found interesting. The whole TPS setup got to be done the day before voting day.
So it's all ready to go, no last-minute scrambling.
Yeah, no pressure, but it emphasizes that organization is key here.
And the KPPS themselves, they don't just go in blind.
Oh, no, they get a full briefing the day before, too. Voting procedures, counting, everyone knows their role.
Like a team huddle before the big game.
Exactly. Then, game day, voting day, usually a holiday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. local time.
And right when things open at the TPS, there are these initial checks, and it's more involved than you might expect.
Yeah, the KPPS, they verify the polling station itself, all the materials, but then, get this, they show that the ballot boxes are empty before sealing them up.
Smart move, like showing the magician's hat is empty.
Right. Builds that trust. And they don't just glance at the ballots, they count them, including a 2.5% reserve.
I was curious about that percentage. Any idea why?
It's probably for any spoiled ballots, damaged or mistakes, or maybe even last-minute additions to the voter list.
So they're prepared for anything.
Exactly. Oh, and witnesses have to show their credentials at this point, too. Can't forget them.
Lots of oversight right from the start.
Transparency is the name of the game. Then it's the official kickoff with oaths for the KPPS and security personnel. Plus, they explain to the voters exactly how to mark their ballot, got to pierce that candidate's number, name, or photo, but only within their designated box, only one choice.
That piercing thing seems unique.
It is. It's not a check mark or a circle. It's very specific.
What happens if, say, a candidate drops out or there's a problem?
Ah, good question. The regulations got that covered.
They thought of everything, huh?
Seems that way. So if someone withdraws or is found ineligible before voting day, they announce it. But here's the interesting part. If a candidate's disqualified less than 30 days before the election, any votes for them, they're still valid, they go to whoever's left.
Wow, so even a last-minute disqualification doesn't derail things.
Nope, keeps it moving, probably to avoid chaos so close to the election.
Okay, so who gets to vote?
The main group, of course, is registered voters with their KTP, the electronic ID card, but it also includes folks on the voters on the move list, so people who may be registered in a different area.
So they don't lose their right to vote just because they moved.
Exactly, and get this, even eligible citizens with their KTPL, but who aren't on those lists, they might still be able to vote.
What? How does that work?
Well, in some cases, they can use a resident biodata document if they don't have their KTPL on hand. It's all about making sure everyone who's eligible has a chance to participate.
So you show up, you sign in, get your ballot, and what then?
Well, you got to check the ballot, make sure it's not damaged or anything, then mark it privately with the tool they provide. Then comes the ink. Got to dip a finger in that indelible ink. Proof you voted.
A classic sign of a voter.
Right. And they've thought about accessibility, too. Voters with disabilities can have an assistant, either a KPPS member or someone they choose, and there are visual aids for the visually impaired. Of course, the assistant has to maintain voter secrecy.
So they're helping but not influencing.
Exactly. And then there are even rules for voters who move or get added to the list on election day itself, trying to make sure they can still cast a ballot if there are enough available.
Seems like a very thorough system.
It really is. Now, once the voting's done, the clock starts ticking, they move right into counting.
No rest for the weary.
Nope. And this is all done out in the open. Witnesses and the press can be there watching the whole thing.
Gotta love that transparency.
Absolutely. And if they can't finish counting on the same day, they can get an extension up to 12 hours. Gotta get it right.
So walk us through the counting process.
All right. First, the KPPS, they set up the counting area and they display this form. It's called Model C Hassel KWK, basically the official record of the vote count at that TPS.
Okay, so everything's meticulously documented.
You got it. Then the exciting part, they open the ballot boxes, count every single ballot, and they got to reconcile that with the voter turnout, make sure the numbers match.
So another check for accuracy.
Yes. And remember those unsigned ballots? Well, the KPPS signs them and they get mixed back in with the rest.
Interesting, so they don't just discard them?
Nope, every vote counts. Of course, they also have to identify any invalid ballots.
What makes a ballot invalid?
So, a valid vote, it has to have the signature and a clear mark. That piercing within one candidate's box can't be on the line or unclear, and they even have rules for if the ink bleeds through.
Wow, that's specific.
It is, and as they're counting, they're tallying everything on that Model C Hassel KWK form. Any corrections. Got to be initialed by the KPPS and any willing witnesses. And if anyone objects to something, that gets noted too.
Super thorough documentation. I'm seeing a pattern here.
Right. And once all the votes are counted, they separate them. Unused ballots, spoiled ones, and the ones that were counted, each group gets sealed in its own envelope.
And all those envelopes go back into the ballot boxes.
Yep, along with those all-important result forms, all sealed up tight.
Okay, so the votes are counted, secured. What happens next?
Well, they got to document those signed result forms electronically. Then copies go to the witnesses, the election supervisors, and then the originals get submitted up the chain to the next level of election administration, the PPS.
So the results move up the ladder.
Amen. And then, drumroll please, they announce the official results publicly.
So it's all out in the open for everyone to see.
That's the idea, the whole process. It's really designed for transparency with all these checks and balances at every stage.
And as you pointed out, they've really thought about all sorts of scenarios, like what to do with those unsigned ballots, or even if a candidate gets disqualified at the last minute.
Exactly. And I think that speaks to how crucial these local elections are in Indonesia's democracy. This level of detail, it shows the commitment to making them fair and accountable.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook the importance of these local elections, but they really are the foundation of the whole system.
Absolutely. And they involve a huge number of people to make it all work.
It makes you wonder, with all these rules and regulations in such a diverse country, what are some of the challenges in making sure this all runs smoothly everywhere?
That's a good question, right? Think about the logistics, the training, ensuring consistent application of the rules across so many different communities and contexts. It's a massive undertaking and something to consider as we think about elections and their effectiveness, not just in Indonesia, but anywhere.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always happy to explore the intricacies of elections.
And for all of you listening, keep those deep dive requests coming. We'll see you next time.
Until then.